talked about the Super Bowl earlier. Now to many of the ads, which had political undertones. You saw a lot of them. The building supply company, 84 Lumber, released an immigration-themed ad showing a Spanish-speaking mother and daughter on a journey. The company has said Fox rejected the original version, interesting, which included images of a border wall between the U.S. and Mexico. An edited version aired before halftime, directing viewers to watch the entire ad online. Budweiser had an immigration-themed ad titled Born the Hard Way. Tells the story of founder Adolphus Busch immigrating to America from Germany in the 1800s. Budweiser said it was not intended to be a political statement. Airbnb aired a commercial entitled We Accept. It features people of different backgrounds with text that read, "We believe no matter who you are, where you come from, who you love, or who you worship, we all belong." And Coca-Cola brought back one of their ads from 2014, the Super Bowl then, featuring people singing a multilingual version of America the Beautiful. And Audi did this. They advocated for equal pay for women in its ad, featuring a father and daughter.
Do I tell her that despite her education, her drive, her skills, her intelligence, she will automatically be valued as less than every man she ever meets? Or maybe I'll be able to tell her something different.
Next Inside Edition.
$5 million would get you 30 seconds of commercial time during the Super Bowl telecast. But this year, Les Trent says a number of commercials had political messages, including one that had to be re-edited before kickoff.
It's being called the most controversial Super Bowl commercial ever. An ad for a building supply company, 84 Lumber, that seemed to take direct aim at President Trump's call for a wall at the Mexican border. It showed a mother and her daughter making an epic and dangerous journey to the United States. Fox TV deemed the original ad too political and required the company to cut the climax. So 84 Lumber invited viewers to see the full ad on its website. And sure enough, the full version is provocative. It shows a massive wall, just like the one President Trump wants to build, but this wall has a door, and the mother and her daughter walk right through. 84 Lumber is facing backlash today, accused of encouraging illegal immigration. But the company is making no apologies, saying in a statement, if people are willing to work hard and make this country better, that door should be open to them. Julia Borston is entertainment and media reporter for CNBC. What does 84 Lumber get out of this?
The fact that this is a brand that most people probably had not heard of before, and then landed on the national scene with people across the country talking about this brand, that's worth something.
So beautiful.
Other corporate brand names who paid big bucks for Super Bowl airtime also seem to be taking pot shots at the president's policies. This Coca-Cola ad, a rerun from 2 years ago, is all about inclusion and diversity.
Many of these ads seem to be responding to President Trump's immigration policies, even though these ads have likely been in the works for months.
More than 100 million are expected to tune into the Super Bowl. As always, there will be plenty of competition for your attention off the field, those much buzzed about commercials. As our Kevin Tibbles explains, one ad running this year, already viewed by millions, is causing quite a stir in these politically charged times.
You don't look like you're from around here.
The fabled story of the American dream, selling that American football staple, beer.
Welcome to America. Go back home.
Budweiser's Super Bowl ad portrays the journey of company co-founder Adolphus Busch, who left Germany for the United States in 1857. Making his way to St. Louis and meeting his future partner, Eberhard Anheuser.
Thank you. The next time, this is the beer we drink.
Set the refugees free!
At a time when immigration is on the minds of many, this American tale struck a nerve on social media. Well done, Budweiser. I can't watch your commercial without crying. For others, it fell flat. This Bud's no longer for me. It's activist juice. But for its part, Budweiser says the ad was a year in the making, adding, We did not set out to create a piece of political commentary. However, we recognize that you can't reference the American dream today without being part of the conversation.
I want the brewer beer.
Welcome to America. We got one here. Go back home.
Some people on social media are calling for a Budweiser boycott this morning because of that Super Bowl commercial. The immigrant story of Budweiser's co-founder was just one of the ads that got into politics. We looked at how they resonated with the viewers. CBS News contributor, that's Frank Luntz, showed them to a focus group of 18 men and 18 women between the ages of 19 to 50. They used a dial to rate their reactions. So the red line represents the men, the green line represents the women. The higher the lines go, the more effective the ad is. Frank Luntz is in Los Angeles to show us what worked and what didn't. Frank, let's start with that Budweiser commercial, because the company says, look, this ad was in the works even long before the election, long before Donald Trump's travel ban. But let's see what your group had to say. First, let's look at your dial test.
Great.
Abandon ship!
Welcome to St. Louis, son.
Hey, Frank Luntz, the company also says this is not meant to convey a political message. What did your people think?
They didn't see a political message. They actually found it interesting that they got a feel for how Anheuser-Busch was originally founded. Now, you'll notice that the scores are hovering around that 50 point. That's moderately good. It's just average. It didn't upset anyone. It didn't attract anyone. Anheuser-Busch has had some of the greatest ads of the Super Bowl. That wasn't one of them. But nobody, not a single person, thought that it was deserving of any kind of boycott.
All right, let's look at the Audi commercial, which I have to say, personally, I thought that was one of my favorites, with the dad talking to his daughter.
Oh, boy, me too.
Didn't you love that, Charlie? I love this ad.
I just love the race car thing to it.
Unanimous at the table, I think. Let's take a look.
What do I tell my daughter? Do I tell her that her grandpa's worth more than her grandma? That her dad is worth more than her mom?
All right, Frank Luntz, any difference between the men and the women?
As you can see there's a little bit more response from the women, but what you probably won't get to is the last 5 seconds when they talk about gender equality in terms of pay, when the men actually dialed it down. Of all the ads that we tested, this one had the biggest difference at the end when it came to men and women, because they thought that it was a political statement, and there's a rule, which is you keep politics out of football, keep politics out of the Super Bowl.
Wow, I didn't realize gender pay equality was politics. I know, but I guess people see it that way. Yeah.
But you could actually, Hillary Clinton made it politics, and that was a big issue for her in 2016, and that's what came through only in the last 2 or 3 seconds of the ad.
So is it good for Audi or not?
It's very good for Audi, but it took too long to make that message. It took too long to get to the point.
What about 84 Lumber and Airbnb? They both struck political chords in their ads as well.
Yes, they did. And for the most part, the reaction actually for Airbnb was pretty positive. Ads that called for a sense of unity, purpose, were seen very favorably. The country acknowledges that it is divided, and ads that seem to bring us together, like the one you're showing right now, actually received a relatively high score, but this still isn't the #1 ad of the Super Bowl.
But Frank, Airbnb wanted to offer free housing to refugees. People are complaining about that?
All it communicated to the average viewer, and remember, you all see it differently than anyone else. That communicated a sense of unity and purpose, but please show the best ad of the Super Bowl.
Frank.
We'll do it right now.
You're hearing that from all corners.
Here you go. Here you go.
Inside these lines, we don't have to come from the same place to help each other reach the same destination.
No time to waste. Let's work.
Inside these lines, we may have our differences, but recognize there's more that unites us. Inside these lines.
All right, Frank, the assessment?
Yes, I'm going to give you the quote. It brings out the best in us. It shows what America is all about, and the NFL is America. And certainly the audience viewership last night may hit record numbers because of that close finish. And that ad communicated at the very end, you've got the map of the United States of America. That is exactly the emotional message that people want to hear. Normally, Super Bowl ads that win are funny ads, but this is not the typical year, and this was not the typical Super Bowl.
You might have noticed there were a handful of political messages last night during the commercial breaks of that Super Bowl, and as usual, they are getting a lot of attention the day after. William Lajeunesse has that story tonight from Los Angeles.
This is the ad too controversial for the Super Bowl, a massive wall stopping a mother and daughter from entering the U.S. Now, during the game, the wall was never shown, and it ended before they ever reached the border, teasing viewers to the company's website where the ad continues.
This was overtly just went after it, and a lot of people just didn't appreciate it. There are not many Super Bowl advertisements that just go flatline like that. The overall grade here was a D.
On social media, some viewers agreed it was too preachy for a football game. 84 Lumber responded by explaining ignoring the border wall and the conversation around immigration just didn't seem right. Another overtly political spot came from Airbnb. It said, "We believe no matter who you are, where you're from, who you love, or who you worship, we all belong. The world is more beautiful the more you accept."
It depends on what the objective of the ad was and who their target market is.
Airbnb caters to a younger, more urban demographic. While many agree with its message of inclusivity, some objected to oversimplifying the refugee crisis. People who've been displaced, whether because of war or conflict or other factors, are acutely vulnerable to not being accepted, said the founders. They are quite literally in need of a place to belong.
What do I tell my daughter?
Another controversial ad used go-karts to talk about equal pay.
Do I tell her that she will automatically be valued as less than every man she ever meets?
According to Entrepreneur Magazine, this was the most talked about ad on social media, though on YouTube, dislikes outnumbered likes by 20%.
I'll bet you the research shows that the people that are turned off are not their customers or their target market.
There are no women on Audi's management board and only 2 on its 14-member executive team. Now, Budweiser and Coca-Cola also aired ads containing pro-immigrant messages, making this not just one of the most dramatic Super Bowls, but one of the more political.
We're following some interesting fallout from the Super Bowl. Some of the biggest businesses in the United States use their commercials to push back against the Trump administration's agenda, but there's more going on than meets the eye. Let's bring in Brian Todd. Brian, what are you learning?
Wolf, tonight we're learning of some major brushback against President Trump from corporate America. Apple, Facebook, Google, all the big tech giants, and some 90 other companies filed a court motion declaring the president's travel ban unconstitutional. Now, between that and the way some companies have pushed back at the president with their Super Bowl ads, this is shaping up as a very public battle. On their arduous journey north, a young girl and her mother braved the rain, the desert, coyotes. They arrive at America's border to find an imposing wall. Undeterred, they push it open. At the very end, a message. The will to succeed is always welcome here. This 3.5-minute ad is from 84 Lumber and was one of several Super Bowl commercials that took on a political tone and seemed to challenge President Trump.
We've never seen anything this confrontational. Politics has always seeped into the Super Bowl, but never before have ads so specifically targeted a specific policy, immigration, and a specific president sworn in a couple of weeks ago.
The 84 Lumber ad was so controversial, at least to Fox and the NFL, that those two entities allowed only part of the ad to air on TV.
The 90 seconds that they were enabled to show on TV by Fox stopped in the middle of a journey of a mother and her daughter trying to cross the border into the United States. You had to go online to get the end of the story, but for those who did, you found a very strong anti-border wall message.
Fox didn't respond to our requests for comment. The most controversial Super Bowl ads all seemed to target President Trump's travel ban. There was Airbnb's spot, set to music, showing several people of different backgrounds with the message, "The world is more beautiful the more you accept." Anheuser-Busch ran an ad depicting its co-founder emigrating to America in the 1800s to a hostile reception.
You're not wanted here. Go back home.
The company said this commercial was not a political statement. As protest messages, one analyst says, these ads may not work as well as other tactics companies are trying.
If these companies want to really show muscle, it'll happen in the political and legal sphere, not through soft-focused TV advertising.
Tech giants Apple, Facebook, Google, and 90-plus other companies are taking that legal route. They filed a court motion declaring that President Trump's executive order on immigration violates the Constitution. Eric Desenhall, a strategic communications specialist who deals with large corporations, says legal filings and high-profile ads are the first step some companies are taking to brush back on a president they're wary of.
Now what you're seeing is corporations believing that one individual has the power to destroy them, largely because if the President of the United States tweets against you, that can send your stock price down by billions of dollars.
In fact, several supporters of President Trump have quickly called for a boycott of some of the companies which took out those provocative ads in the Super Bowl, including Anheuser-Busch, Airbnb, and 84 Lumber for this ad. Ironically, that company's owner says she voted for President Trump. Wolf?
Ryan, you've spoken with people at 84 Lumber. Do they feel they've gotten their money's worth out of this controversy?
They do, Wolf. The company paid about $15 million for this 90-second TV ad. They did not pay for the portion that aired online, and they've gotten an avalanche of notoriety. They've gotten more than 50 million hits between people pinging their website and YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter views. At one point last night during the Super Bowl, Wolf, a company spokesman tells us 84 Lumber was trending at the #4 spot nationally of any term used on Twitter. Not a company whose name is mentioned on Twitter, but a term, #4 during the Super Bowl.